going to put down an aftermarket ignition coil here. The OEM ones are insanely expensive, so I've actually had pretty good luck with aftermarket ignition coils, so that's what I'm going to put down here. And in order to do that, one of the best ways to do this is to actually put a business card between the coil and the magnet, and then you put the ignition coil bolts down. I actually only have one good one. The other one I'm going to pull out of my stash here. These are just M5 Allens. Now the OEM one actually has a flange to it. This does not, but doesn't look like we need the flange. And these will go down with the T-handle just to make sure it's correct. This should reach all the way up here just fine. Put the rubber boot down. Make sure nothing gets in here. So I have to get the air shroud here, which will actually hold this better. The air shroud is coming, it's on order. So that's actually the next thing here. Air shroud, and then I'll be able to do the green wire here, which seems to feel a little short, but I'll get that figured. Also happen to get an aftermarket air filter. Looks cool. I like the color. Blue. Yeah. This one's pretty well shot. Used up. So don't throw this part away. You gotta, I can't imagine how expensive that is. So I can toss this filter because it's pretty well shot. Nice. Next thing to do is probably, I'm going to put the top cover on, or back on rather. I've got to put the starter cover on, which I don't have yet, so I'll get that. Still waiting on that for parts. And we'll be ready to start this thing up pretty soon. So here's where I'm at. I've got an issue with the parts that I ordered. The handle for the chain brake was the wrong one, and the actual top handle was the wrong one as well. They sort of fit, but not really. As it turns out, they were aftermarket parts that would fit a regular 372. The xtorq models have some different parts on them. So this is an xtorq model from 2012. Basically anything I think 2010 and newer will be the xtorq models. Okay, so this is the old chain brake handle, and I don't know if the the other old handle fits, so I'm not going to worry about that right now. But what I'll do is I'll try to piece together the rest of it this morning, and maybe even get a compression number. So that's kind of where we're at on this. The next piece to do is the air shroud here. So the green or blue wire, or however you see it, goes in like this, goes across and plugs in. Also make sure that the spade connector here is tight against the ignition module. Okay, ignition coil. So then spark plug connector goes up in here. How am I supposed to fit it up in there? I don't know. Pull that wire back out. Push this up and in. Spark plug wire's got to go up there first. And your green wire here can always be pushed back a little bit behind here if you have extra slack there. One of the parts that will likely get forgotten, and I've now found is missing on both the 385 and on this 372, was this bushing. And this does not want to go in here. But I'm actually not going to put it in here because I need to replace this handle anyway, so I won't worry about that right now. Another thing that I found that was missing again on both models was there's a little metal screw type thing in here that helps retain the bolt, I guess, through the bushing. Somehow I didn't get a decal for this. I thought it was going to come with a decal. Anyway, I'll get that later. So this part, I actually have to get this tight, so let's do that. There we go. I'm just going to tighten it 1, 2 turns. And then I've got to put the screw in here to retain this. Something's too tight. Looks like the knot here is catching. So let's see if we can avoid that. By pulling that knot up a little bit. that out of the way before I put the washer down. These little things like this that end up taking all the extra time. And so I don't have to hold this. Let's go tie this. This appears to be a fairly new cord, so I'm not going to replace it. Now we got to figure this out. Yeah, it's that knot there messing us up. That ought to do just fine. The plastic part needs to feel like it's down before you actually go and attempt to bolt it down. And these holes probably don't come pre-threaded either. Good. These screws do tend to get lost. So now we've got that. So now we can pull it, which means I might actually be able to get a compression number. Difficult to do a compression test without having the handle, but let's see if I can get it. So for a compression test, I just take a clamp, put it on the throttle, like that, so we're holding it full throttle. And I'm going to do this off camera on the ground, but what we'll do is I'll give this some good pulls and see where the compression ends up. One important thing to do is to have the obviously the decompression valve off, otherwise you get an aberrant reading. admittedly is darn difficult to do without a handle. So right now I'm above 150. See if I give it another good pull and see what happens. Yeah, 150. Didn't really expect the compression to go up too much. Lowering the jug by 13 thousandths is not going to raise the compression a ton. And I didn't put new rings in this, which I could have done, but I didn't. So, at least I got 150. In order to really raise the compression, you actually have to go in and cut the squish band in here, and then lower the jug significantly otherwise. So, should we see if it runs? Alright, let's see if it runs. Nice fresh plug. So let's put the top cover on. When you're putting the top cover down, make sure that the spark plug is over like that. It can't be bunchy. So the aftermarket ones have sometimes a little extra length. Now that can actually fit down there properly like that. And that's down and tight. Let's put some gas in it, see if it starts. Got a new fuel filter in there, of course. Choke on, decompression valve on. I'm going to put it on the floor. We get pop, decompression valve back on. Wow. Wants to go. So, there we go. She starts. Let me put the rest of it together. And we'll take her outside and see if we can get her tuned. One thing I am going to do is I'm going to put a chain catcher on here. And then there's also this rolly thing too. I guess it's a rolly type chain catcher. So I'm going to get that on there as well. I don't have that part right now, but I will get it. And a few other miscellaneous parts, of course. There we go. I'll put that upside down. This part is stainless, and it's a little bugger here, but you know, I'm just going to leave it. There's plenty of life left in that piece. Got a couple of bars from a guy on Trading Post on Arborist site, so thank you. We've got a nice new chip deflector, or whatever this is called here. Couple of new decals, because you can't live without the decals, of course. The chip deflector goes on. Goes on like that. And then there is this plastic piece, which with a it's a plastic bushing, and there's a screw here. The plastic bushing on this is fairly well shot, so I ordered a new one. It's one of those really stupid tiny little parts here. That probably cost way too much money. But if you're going for a complete saw, that's kind of what you need to do. Okay, nice new little plastic piece. It's tiny. Actually goes in, so it goes in right here. At least it should go in right there. Maybe. A little bit of grease here. I had one guy last night comment on my one of my videos. It was my Volvo video on how to change out the fuel filter. And he commented, and he seemed to think that I had a grease fetish. So, if that's what you think, then you're right, I do. Because I absolutely hate having connections that are dry. How many bolts have I taken off of cars, saws, whatever, that aren't greased, and you break the head of the bolt off or something stupid because it was dry. You know, things need to be put onto proper torque. No question about that. But they also need to be greased. Or Loctited, depending again on what you're doing. But they need to be greased so you can actually get them off again. Not just a matter of getting things on, it's a matter of getting things off, too. Because if you're going to do a brake job on your car, you're probably going to do it again. And the next time you do it, you want it to be easier than the first time, not harder. And if you're not going to do it again, somebody else is. Why don't you be nice? Put some grease on it. That way the next guy doesn't have quite such trouble. So you have to sit here and think, what bolts do I have extra? Oh, you know what I do have extra? Is this rubber thing here. I'll take the top cover off and fix that later. Because there's a rubber piece that actually goes on top of the cylinder head. Okay, let's forget about that for now. We end up having extra bolts for some reason. Okay, so this is not in great shape, but it'll work as a cover. The bump stop here may need to be replaced eventually, but we're not in too bad a shape. Little WD-40 on the chain adjuster. Tension adjuster there. The 350s are a pain in the neck. This is easy because it's right there. You just, no problem. If you don't know how to put a bar on by now, you got bigger problems, but I'm going to get the chain going here. Oregon 72 LGX 084G. 24-inch Husqvarna large mount bar. And just by looking at the chain, I think I don't actually have a 72 LGX. I think I have a 73. Hopefully this fits. It goes in there, so that's good. The chain is not 72 LGX, it's actually 73 LGX. It happens to be the wrong box. I'm going to throw that out. Oregon 73 LGX, which is 058, and 84 drive link 3/8 chain, which is what the bar calls for. I've got a 3/8 7-pin rim, and that's how that's going. Bar nut. Make sure the bar nuts are loose enough, then tighten the chain. I always hold it up to kind of get a feel for where we're at. Pretty good. Should run smooth and back and forth. Obviously, if I set the chain brake, pop, nothing. Good. So after piles of money and parts and time, we still have a cruddy looking saw. Haha. Let's put it this way. If you're going to have fun, you're going to do an interesting project, this is it. If you're looking for a nice saw for cheap, there are plenty of nice saws on Craigslist that are in perfect condition for pretty inexpensive. In fact, I just saw one the other day. It was the previous generation of this, but it looked gorgeous. I mean, you know, I look, is all the paint gone? No, it was perfect paint, perfect paint. Had hardly been used. I wanted $450 for it. I've at least got 500 into this thing. But on the other hand, I've got a ported saw. Or at least it's somewhat ported. The compression's not really increased that much. We'll see if it does go up a tad after running it for a bit. But it was a fun project. I learned a lot. Again, we'll take this outside in a little bit and get it tuned as soon as I get a proper handle for it and a proper chain brake handle here. One other silly little part that I forgot is this rubber piece. This just simply goes in here, goes over the needle valve screws, just for keeping the dust out. I put this rubber piece back on the top here. This is not broken off, so that's good. I'm going to apologize at this point and just say that I've finished this project up. The only things that really needed to get done were the chain brake handle here needed to be new because it had a crack in it. There was a crack over here. And this, the top handle was bent funny, so it was not really working well with the AV spring over on this side. So rather than show you how to put all that together, it's just pretty simple. It's just bolts. So just wanted to show that this project is essentially done. One thing I'm not happy about is right here, this particular screw. This screw is, the stock screw is too short. It doesn't go in properly, and it wants to strip the threads out, so I had to put a longer screw in, still M5, and it works fine. If anybody has a part number to help me on this, I mean something that looks like that but is longer, that'd be great. Anyway, 372 XP. Just as comparison, a ported 350, bolt start. That's about this for the video. It does run. It runs pretty well. It's pretty snappy, and I'm happy with how it turned out. Obviously some paint missing here. It's not perfect, but this 24-inch bar, this should be just fine for what I need it to do. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.